Adam.
And I'm Chick.
And this is Where There's a Williams, There's a Way.
Hey, Adam, did you hear about the hippo who wanted to become an engineer?
No, I can't say I have. What's the story?
Well, she wanted to build the world's first underwater library.
An underwater library? That sounds ambitious.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. She wanted to use bubble wrap to keep the books dry.
Bubble wrap? Isn't that more for packing?
Yeah, but she figured if it works for shipping fragile items, it should work for protecting books underwater too.
Well, I guess she's got some innovative thinking there.
Hey, at least she's thinking outside the box.
In today's book, Rosie Revere dreamed of becoming a great engineer. Where some people see rubbish, Rosie sees inspiration. Alone in her room at night, shy Rosie constructs great inventions from odds and ends. Hot dog dispensers, helium pants, python-repelling cheese heads. Rosie's gizmos would astound if she ever let anyone see them. Afraid of failure, she hides them away under her bed, until a fateful visit from her great Aunt Rose, who shows her that the first flop isn't something to fear, it's something to celebrate. And if you can only truly fail if you quit, let's get started. Rosie Revere, Engineer by Andrea Beaty. Illustrated by David Roberts. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye, and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud, but Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, truly I do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day she kept her dreams to herself.
Did I tell you that I finished my masterpiece?
Oh, you mean your sculpture?
Sure do. It's a sculpture made entirely of mud and leftover crayons.
Wow, that sounds interesting.
I poured my heart and soul into it.
Then why don't you sound happier?
Well, one person said it looked like a mud monster, and another said that it looked like something that their little brother would make in preschool.
Well, Chick, art is subjective, you know. Some people just have a different sense of humor.
But it's not supposed to be funny.
But did you have fun making it?
Sure.
And are you proud of it?
Definitely.
Then don't worry about those guys. And that's how it went until one autumn day. Her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great Aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. "The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams." That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed. A daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake throughout the night. So when dawn approached and the red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Hello Cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, "Oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer." She turned round to leave, but then great Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close, and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. "You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try! This great flop is over, it's time for the next." Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. "I failed," said dear Rosie. "It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? This cheese copter crashed." "Yes," said her great aunt. "It crashed, that is true. But first it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew."
Rosie's aunt is super supportive. How great is that? You remember that time when Mrs. Cupcake, the school's cafeteria lady, cheered us on during the teachers versus students soccer match? Well, how could I forget? She was our unexpected MVP. I swear her chants were louder than the entire student section combined. Absolutely. I mean, who knew someone could be so passionate about Meatloaf Mondays and cornering us with extra servings of broccoli? There she was, yelling at the top of her lungs, "Go, Mr. Williams, score that goal! Show those kids what a real teacher's made of!" And let's not forget her motivational tactics. I'd be ready to pass out from exhaustion, and then she'd wave a tray of freshly baked cookies, shouting, "Come on, think of the cookies waiting for you if you win." Oh, those cookies! They were like golden trophies, Adam. I could practically taste victory with each bite. You know, she may just be the unsung hero of our victory that day. Who would have thought her culinary expertise would translate into such a formidable coaching skill?
"Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next." She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. Historical note: during World War II, millions of women in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the Soviet Union, and other allied nations worked to provide the food and equipment needed for the war effort. Some worked on farms to grow food for the troops. Others built ships, airplanes, tanks, and jeeps. With the help of many women, American factories produced more than 300,000 aircraft, 86,000 tanks, and 2 million Army trucks during the war. In the United States, these women were represented by Rosie the Riveter, the scarf-wearing fictional character whose slogan was, "We can do it." The illustrations in this book were made with watercolors, pen, and ink on Arches paper. For some pieces, pencil and graphic were also employed.
Hippos are like the engineers of the animal kingdom, always submerged in water, solving problems like buoyancy and stuff. They have to be innovative. Why do you say that? Because hippos are aquatic animals that can't swim. You've got to figure something out. Kind of like Rosie Revere. How about this cheese copter? Now that's some cheesy engineering. Literally. But hey, Rosie teaches us that failure is just a stepping stone to success. She fails gloriously before she finally nails it. The classic trial and error method. Reminds me when I tried to teach algebra to a bunch of second graders. Let's just say there were more errors than trials. Well, Rosie Revere might inspire you to give it another shot. Who knows? Maybe you'll invent the next great educational gadget. If you've been inspired or enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'm Adam. And I'm Chick. And this is Where There's a Williams, There's a Way.
Did you know civil engineering is the oldest discipline, with Imhotep believed to have worked on pyramid construction around 2600 BC?